Have you ever been in a game and rolled a perception check and your character was supposed to receive a lore drop? When you play Dungeons and Dragons, do the players know the lore? Does the PC character know the lore? Or is it something that they pick up? It could be vampire lore, it could be wolf. Or do they know of the monsters? Do they know of all the ins and outs of the mind flayers? Do they like all the lore that you have as a DM built up to tell this story? Are they privy to it? And we both have talked about and agree, at least I agree, with the idea that I like to have my guys as IDM have it act like the real world. So like, where would you, in our life, where would you pick up on the lore? You pick it up at church, you pick it up at school, you pick it up from nighttime stories. If you're old and veteran grandfather.
You pick up other stories from travelers coming in town. Like people coming, sitting around the fire and telling stories, tales from faraway place.
Yeah. And so, like, when do you disclose this lore to them? So if the players come into the game, session 0, and they know the lore, you got to give them a lore dump pretty fast.
I think you give them... There's a certain amount that they're going to need to be able to engage with your story, if you want them to engage with your story. So their primer is, here's the full history that you would know, and of course any religious characters, or like your clerics or your paladins who are tied to a deity, would have information about them. So maybe you have another little amendment for each one of them, or if you want to give them all 417 pages that you've built up of the history of all the gods, all the towns, and tell them, pick and choose what you want to know. You can go any way.
Yeah, so in our...
I know as a DM, you build so much in the world, and you just want to share that with everyone.
Yeah.
And me as a player, I want to learn all of that, but I love to learn it in the story.
I don't want to go on a random tangent. I'm not going to hit the button yet. Not yet. But at the very beginning of it, I had such a long story, and session 3 was the big lore dump. You found you woke up in a dungeon, and you guys played in the dungeon for 3 sessions. It was crazy, Walking Dead and all this stuff. And then you found someone similar to you, a prisoner. Turns out to be someone who sent a sage that was dying that set you on your quest. And she had this big rant, and I read it out to you guys. And I was saying before that I think I should have handed you the piece of paper as a cliffhanger. Like, cliffhangers are great for lore. I think lore drops should be read sometimes, unless it's pieced together for that session. Now, in terms of players knowing the lore in the world, I think it's like, you don't want to force it on them, depending on what kind of session you're doing.
And also, if you're going through some temple or some part of the world, and someone's looking at a book or hearing a story, and some players ask, would I know that? You can ask them, would you? Would your character know anything about this? Let them create their backstory with this knowledge that this exists. Because there's so much in your world, and it's really hard for you to tell me everything that's in your mind because of how much you've created. But sometimes, like, you would say, would my character know mind flayers? Probably not. Yeah, I probably wouldn't know about that, so I'm going to wait, be surprised by what happens, and not know that insight before it comes.
And one way to set this up, though, is just saying, you don't know the whole lore. So questions are inspiration for the appropriate questions and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like in video games, when you have that fog of war, you want to see what's in that fog.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like not knowing the full story of the lore of the land, of the characters. I want to learn that. I want to go to that place. I want to go to the Sky Kingdom and see those elephants that I've heard so much about.
Did you guys like the Fog of War? I think Fog of War is great.
Oh, yeah.
Fog of War, I put a Fog of War on the tabletop, and you could see through my eyes, which next time I'm going to try to do it for the viewer to see it through a player, and I can just create a third-party player and put them on the side and see what they were saying. But if you're playing it digitally, you literally move your character, and that's how far you can see.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
I love it now.
Lore drops. When do you do
Yeah.
them? That's entirely up to the story. Ours is a particular campaign that we're actually building ourselves. We're making it so it's playable. I've realized that some of the lore in the world has to actually come from the players. And it's actually quite nice to not have all of the pressure of the world creation
Yeah.
and lore in it from me. So it's nice that certain people come up with their own, like Adam came up with his own little village in the mountains. Now I can build off that.
Yeah, we're creating a shared story together. Why wouldn't we be able to put some world building aspects of Turgan's hometown in there?
So I think the answer to the question is it depends. What type of campaign you're playing.
How much you want them to come into it.
Right.
Knowing maybe it's like you're all from secluded islands, or people don't share information that much, so you don't really know about this place.
And in that case, I would have. It's always nice. Play a set. Do your lore drop. Maybe like you hear people in a tavern, or you all know a myth. Have each player hear the myth, but just a different.
Yeah.
Maybe my guy's name is Hercules, and Chris, your guy's name is Cicero, and
Right.
the same type of thing happens. And then like session 3 or 4, boom, you have a lore drop. Maybe a one-off, a one game night is a one and done for the evening. It's a one-off. Like
one shot.
You go in. You guys are all hunters. Yeah. You're hunting the vampires. You know that the vampire is out to get the goblet, and if he spills the prince's blood in the goblet and drinks it, then the whole world becomes slugs.
That sounds like a fun night of raiding a vampire's mansion. Set us right up at the door. There you go. Here's your one-shot idea for the night.
So in terms of so
sometimes you need a lot. It depends on what you're playing. Like what you're saying. My favorite answer. I love it. If you're doing a one shot or just that one game, you don't need that much lore for the story. This is who you are. This is who they are. Go have fun. You only need the lore of this tiny little plot that you're living in.
This is who you are.
Yeah. Or if you're doing our 3-year campaign, it's you give up us as much as we can absorb.
I've given you not a lot of.
You've given us 96 plus sessions of.
And still, we just figured out what to do with these elemental artifacts, and we don't know how to use them. If you're playing a written book from D&D Beyond, it's probably in there. Like it probably has in the intro.
But not everything is filled out, and you can change whatever you want. It's your game.
Yeah. What's the point? If you going back to that vampire thing? Oh, the vampire's looking for the queen to spill into the goblet, and then the characters are like, "I want to go in the water." Then the lore doesn't really matter now, does it?
Yeah. It's also then you go into the water, make another character that wants to go and kill this vampire.
So I liked that lore drop. Next topic for next Let's Talk Lore. We're always going to do one topic that's posted on Instagram on a poll. So get on there and push that button. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, even if it's like crazy. There was one person that was like, talk about NPC rebuilds, and I was like, I just talked about that. How do I do this again, but better?
Differently.
I can figure it out, but
yeah.
I'm going to roll this die real quick.